thank you for coming to the last session in this small but efficient group, hopefully. So I'm going to talk about visualizing graphical, geospatial, and temporal data with PowerMap, which is the latest tool in Microsoft Business Intelligence suite in Power BI suite. And I will also compare it with other options for reporting on geospatial and temporal data. Okay, I introduced myself quite frequently in this conference, so I think we can skip this. So I will also introduce briefly reporting services and Power View and compare them to PowerMap, why in which situations you would use PowerMap, in which situations Power View, and when reporting services. Couple of words on optimizing the data model, and then at the end we'll go a little bit more in depth. So everybody's talking about predictive analytics, but then usually you see just basic graphs. Nice, pretty, but still, where is the predictive part? So I will show you how you can add real forecasts from time series algorithm to all kind of reports. So this will be a little bit more advanced. And of course, you know that there are many times requests for comparing data in different regions, and definitely also over time. We are always dealing with over time. And you get a lot of free information, statistical information over countries over time. And so showing data on a map might be much more informational than showing it in a table. What we have in Microsoft BI Suite, we have reporting services, we have Power View, and we have PowerMap. Power View and PowerMap, parts of course, Power BI Suite. So, what is with reporting services? So with SQL Server reporting services, we have mapping options since 2008 or 2008 release 2, I don't remember exactly, but it was before 2012, when we got map data region. And in this map, we can display just locations like latitude, longitude, or some analytical data in a bubble map, where the size and the color of the bubble depends on some analytical data. A marker map, you can use a marker style based on some analytical data, or even a line map to display routes between points on a map. And where do we get map from? So basically map sources for geographical data are map gallery that comes with reporting services. So in this map gallery, we have these A3 shape files. So shape files that are in XML format, and you have just shapes of countries presented in different ways. However, in map gallery, this is what is included is only United States. So for everything else, you can freely add A3 shape files. Do you know the reason why is it so? Why didn't? No. Basically, the reason is political. You know how many points in the world are when two countries disagree to which country belong that island or that piece of whatever forest, So Microsoft didn't want to go there. So we give you the map of United States. This we know that these borders are correct. Everything else, download whichever map you want. And they provide you with all of the instructions. So how can you add a map to map gallery, and then you can use the version you prefer.
There's some states in America that said they would break away.
Yeah, even this, yes. So it's really, this is just political reason. That's why they decided that they will simply not go into this area. Makes no sense. No way that you can satisfy everybody. So anyway, the good thing is that this is in reporting services database. So what does it mean? It simply means you don't need online connection to show maps, to show data on maps. And you can get points and lines from SQL Server spatial data, so geography data type, and reporting services realizes all of the data from geography data type, and then you can show it on maps. Of course, you can also add Bing Maps layer, but for this you need online connection, right? So what are good things about reporting services and also bad? First of all, you are limited to two-dimensional maps, and as I said, these reshape files can be imported in reporting services database. So the best thing is that you can work in offline mode. Also, reporting services in general is, let's say, very advanced and detailed tool. So you have dozens of properties for every single object in reporting services. You can set up these properties as constants, or I guess for every property you can also use an expression, VB expression. So it means you can play as much as you wish. You can create any kind of report. There is always some option somewhere that you can use and achieve whatever you wish. So it means it's a very, very good tool for very advanced reports and reports that really need to be designed extremely nicely or in accordance with some company rules and logos and so on. However, this also means that typically end users cannot develop these reports. Too many options means complex development, so simple. So we are limited to BI developers to develop these reports. And of course, it's also possible not to go in so much detail and develop them quickly, right? Still not so quick as with other tools. And there are basically two tools to develop reports, Visual Studio and Report Builder. And Report Builder is just Office-like tool, but it's not much simpler. It has still all of the options that are included in Visual Studio or in SQL Server data tools, so it means it can't be that simple. It's just more like Office-like, maybe more for DBAs that maybe are not so used to use Visual Studio, but still not something that you would really give to end users. Now this is about geography. What about time? Can we have some animations? Unfortunately not. So these are static reports. Okay, you can have some dynamic features like all dynamic filtering, but there is nothing that would make an animation out of your data, animation over time. So you have to play with existing options. Many times it's useful to create a multi-panel of small charts, trellis charts, small maps. This is doable. In reporting services, this is doable. You can include a map control in a matrix. And let's say that you use division by time, so you can pretend that you have kind of time dimension included in a report. Big advantage is that you can export the report to various formats. So default is HTML, and you can publish in native mode in Report Manager site or in SharePoint integrated mode in SharePoint site. And also it's very simple to use. Wherever you deploy the reports, you can use them in your applications, you can use them in custom sites. And you can export them to Word format, Excel, PDF, XML, create all data feeds. So it's really, really very, very open technology. Okay, trellis report, you have to create it manually, create a matrix, and then add a chart on the matrix. Also, reporting services can use data from nearly any source. So reporting services is the product bound to SQL Server only with its own data. So you deploy reports in reporting services database, but the source of data for reports can be nearly anything. OLEDB provider, .NET provider, ODBC driver. So really broad broad number of different sources. So this is very, very good about reporting services. Now, did you ever test Report Builder 1.0 and report models?
Opened it up and closed it.
Yeah.
Pretty much straight away.
So it was more or less born that technology. And the worst thing is that they recycled the name. So now we have Report Builder 3.0, which is a slight upgrade of 2.0. But 1.0 and 2.0 are completely different products. I don't know why they recycled the name. Anyway, this was the idea of reporting services, to have a tool that would enable end users to quickly build reports. Now the problem with such tool is, you see, the same problem as with general queries from Excel. You cannot just open database to end users. Why? First, they need to know some query language, which they don't know, and they should write efficient queries and so on. And next, they need to know database schema. And this might be even bigger problem, you know. Even like basic SQL might not be that hard. You can help them by creating views in a database, but the worst thing is that they must know also the schema. And then you upgrade the application and you have 10,000 tables, and all of this knowledge is lost. So the point is that a tool that is easy for end users must be able to understand the schema, so to get some semantic description of the schema, and be able to write queries by itself. So reporting services introduced report models. So report model was a layer of metadata on the top of the source database, a layer of metadata where you described entities, attributes, relationships in business terminology. And of course, this layer was used by reporting services later when you executed the reports based on report models to generate source queries. It was limited to source queries on SQL Server, Oracle, and Analysis Services MDX queries. This was limitation of the source. And if you think of it, do you also develop with ADO.NET?
I personally don't.
Yeah. So you know, report model was based on ADO.NET. So we have command builder for Oracle, SQL Server, and Analysis Services. So it uses SQL command builder object. So that's why it was limited on these sources. So and then it was report builder 1.0, which was actually never really generally accepted. I said it was kind of dead-born child. It looks at the first glimpse a nice idea. Yes, but you know, there was already a product in Microsoft Suite that already had all of this metadata included. And this is Analysis Services. And yes, and besides metadata, you can also have data, so you get also lightning speed of the reports. But you can also use Analysis Services as a mid-tier layer of metadata only as well. You have this roll-up mode in multidimensional analysis services, and it's called direct query mode in tabular. It's interesting how sometimes Microsoft invents new expressions, but for report builder they recycled the names. Anyway, that's why these report models and report builder were kind of doomed from the beginning. So we have analysis services, we have Excel as a nice client. So why do we need another model? And even better, you know, analysis services model, semantic model has even much more metadata than report model any time had. So, you know, if you created report model on Oracle or on top of SQL Server, you had to define all kind of descriptions and everything. A report model based on analysis services, you were never able to create it from Visual Studio. You just used Report Manager, created a data source to analysis services, and there was one button, generate report model, because it just simply inherited everything from analysis services, so it was kind of narrowed down semantic model from analysis services. So then why would you need such a thing when you have the full-blown model in analysis services? So, of course, Microsoft went to this other direction, abandoned report models and report builder 1.0, except the name was reused, okay, and went to analysis services tabular. And then, besides Excel, they actually decided on another tool. So a reporting services team built this tool, PowerView. PowerView was built by reporting services as kind of replacement for Report Builder 1.0. So the idea is to have extremely lightweight tool, extremely simple to use with a lot of knowledge. So it's a couple of clicks you should be able to generate nice reports. And of course, because it's based on analysis services, it can also create queries for you. So, and because analysis services is fast, you can also get very, very quickly results. Now, PowerView is the first tool that is writing DAX queries. Excel is writing MDX queries. Now you can use both tools on both versions of analysis services. This is due to intelligence built in analysis services. So analysis services tabular can accept MDX query from Excel and translate it to DAX and execute it. And analysis service is multidimensional from SQL, I think 2012, Service Pack 2, something like this. Also knows how to accept DAX queries and translate them to MDX queries. So that's why you can use PowerView on analysis services multidimensional as well, and Excel also as tabular client. Anyway, in both cases, direct query and rollup mode don't work. It would be too complex. So, imagine that tabular gets MDX query, then it translates it to DAX, but then it sends, let's say, data to SQL Server, so it has to do another translation to transact SQL. This would be awful. Also, did anybody use this direct mode?
No, I've done sort of hybrid rollup on
Yeah.
Cube, but not with yeah, it's not great. But
you probably heard from database perspective why database guys mostly hate entity framework, because queries created are really not state of the art, many times are extremely inefficient. However, they are nothing compared to queries that analysis services tabular can make. Like query select column name from table, seriously, becomes like 500 lines. What does it do? I have no clue. I have no clue. So, yes, we have this direct query mode, but more or less theoretically useful, at least for now. It is there, but you probably don't want to use it. Now, PowerView also includes Bing maps, but we are limited to two-dimensional maps, similarly like reporting services. However, we don't have any internal maps stored in a database, so there is no offline mode for using maps. And since you are doing reports with real data, no way that this would ever work in an offline mode with PowerView. It has built in also a way how to make time-lapse animations. So you can create a scatter plot report or even bubble charts, and when you add a time dimension, then this is used as play axis. And I will show you now in a minute. The only problem is that you cannot combine maps with this kind of time-lapse animations. So either you use maps or you use either you show geographic or temporal data, not both. Of course, you have trellis charts, and this is supported even in a much simpler way than in reporting services, but it's not the same, right? It's really not possible to get both temporal and geographic data. There are two versions of PowerView. PowerView in Excel, which is free download for Excel. It's not free download. It exists for SharePoint 2010 and 2013, and Excel only 2013 and 365. And it's already included in 2013, so you just have to enable it. Now also, comparing to reporting services, remember, we are limited to data sources. Analysis services is the data source. Initially, it was only tabular. Now it's also multidimensional, but remember, not because Power View would change, but because analysis services multidimensional can now translate DAX queries to MDX queries. Export from Power View in Excel doesn't exist. All you can do is maybe publish these reports on SharePoint, if you have Power View for SharePoint. By the way, how do you get Power View for SharePoint? You have to install reporting services in SharePoint integrated mode. This is funny. Also, Power Pivot exists like for Excel, for SharePoint, and as an analysis service is tabular. But Power Pivot for SharePoint doesn't really exist. You have to install analysis services tabular in SharePoint integrated mode.
Doesn't that have to be enterprise as well?
Yes, yeah. SharePoint Enterprise. This is marketing sales decision. So I always wonder about this decision, how they measure efficiency of these decisions, because the idea here is that with BI you push sales of SharePoint Enterprise. But on the other hand, there is also negative effect because of this pushing. You are also lowering the sales of BI and usage of BI and SQL Server in general. So I wonder if overall effect is still positive.
It's always enterprise has the good, stuff in it.
I don't know if you remember, years ago, the only mail supported from SQL Server was Exchange Server. And it was a similar idea that SQL Server should enforce sales of Exchange Server. And turns out that nobody wanted to use it, so Microsoft gave up, and now SQL Server supports SMTP mail. For a couple of versions it supported both, now it's SMTP only. So maybe this will also simply disappear, this enforcement. I think we got negative effect on SQL Server side because of this. People use less. If you compare, let's say, pricing of SQL Server with other systems like Oracle, it could be extremely efficient because of the completeness of the suite. You have everything there. But if you don't use 2/3 of it, then the advantage disappears. If you use SQL Server just as a relational database engine, it's not much cheaper than Oracle. So, and it's even worse. Oracle went to another direction. Instead of introducing multiple products, built a lot of BI features inside the database. So Oracle has a lot of statistical functions that are missing in SQL Server, so many times it's much simpler to write a report there. And so if you use only database engine, you don't get all of the features from the suite, and even this engine, then you get worse reports than from Oracle. So I think this is very important that Microsoft should enforce usage, explain people to users. Look, you purchased licenses, you have everything what you need for BI.
I know plenty of places that have worked. They don't use even half of what's in the server.
And this is so tomorrow I've got this seminar about BI tools in Microsoft, and it's really impressive, just the amount of the tools. It's really impressive, and majority of developers have no clue about them. Anyway, so Power View is extremely simple to use. You can extremely quickly create very nice reports, but with limitations. So, no export data sources just from analysis services, whatever version. Export is enabled to PowerPoint, but only from Power View for SharePoint, not from Excel. This is the only export. Otherwise, SharePoint sites and copy paste, whatever. So let me show you a couple of these reports so we get the idea what we got. I already created a lot of things in advance. So first I have here already prepared couple of reports. So let me show you how this works. First, I have shared data sets. So what I have here is, let me copy and maybe execute in Management Studio, so we will get the idea. I'm using AdventureWorks DW 2012, not 2014. I will explain why in a second. Data is completely the same. Just in 2014, they raised the dates for like year and a half. And now the cutoff point when there is end of data is somewhere in middle of November. While in 2012, the cutoff point where you get no data anymore is half of the year of 2008, I think. So it's much nicer to create animations where forecast starts and where is end of the data and where forecasts start in 2012 data than in 2014. So this is first. We have first I'm limiting only to country region United States. So I have customers over in United States. Why? Remember that we have only United States in the map gallery. Okay. So I have also top customer per state. Let me copy this one. So this is sales amount, customer, state, province. Okay, this I don't think I use this anywhere. I just put maybe in the data set in case I would have some usage. Oh yeah, I use it for trellis chart, definitely. And the top customer, so the customer with the highest sale in every region. So this is top one customer. So I calculate sales per customer. And also all of these joins are because I'm adding spatial location. And in data warehouse, we don't have spatial location. So I must join back to a source AdventureWorks database in order to get this spatial location. And these are top customers in each state and their sales amount. And of course, if you have spatial data, then you get also this map control, which is extremely hard to see. But you see these small dots? So these are these locations. There's a, you know, when I think it was 2008 released, 2008 was that introduced spatial. When I first time saw this map control, I actually scratched my screen because I thought, you know, this is some piece of dirt. So what is this there? And I realized, oh no, I just ruined my screen. Oh, this is this is actually the representation of this data. So let me show you the report, sales analysis. So this is map control, and in map control you add layers through layer wizard. So first I started with polygon layer. I can show you with the layer wizard. So I decided for color analytical map. So countries are colored based on sales, right? And they are based on internet sales. And this is built-in geographical knowledge. So I don't have spatial location there, but I have state names. So I map state names to state province to state name predefined geographical metadata. So this is basically the same names as used internally in Bing Maps. And I'm visualizing with this green, yellow, red coloring sum of sales amount. So this was one layer, and the other layer, point layer, uses bubble map, right? Top customer per state, and shows sum of sales amount. And uses, of course, for automatically uses the spatial location, because this is the only geographic data in my data set. So now I can create a very nice report, sales over states, with top customer shown in a bubble. Larger bubble also means larger sale of this top customer with some labels and so on. So this is geographic. So how do I add time here? So how do I add time here is simply create a matrix. That's why I needed education. So I will have education in rows. I didn't use any columns, just education in rows. So for every education level, I will get a separate map of sales amount. So for graduate degree, partial college, partial high school, and so on. Come on. For every single education level, I get a small subset. This could also be based on the time, right? So I could kind of simulate time. I'm not showing the third report yet. This one will also include forecasts. So let me go here to my Excel and first start with Power Pivot data model. So of course I'm working now on analysis services tabular, or namely Power Pivot data model, and data is already prepared in accordance to needs of Power View and Power Map. Just to ask, have you been in the second presentation this day? Dan Clark talked about.
Yes.
So okay, so this is already done. So I'm not repeating Dan's session. But just to summarize what has been done. So first I'm using sales, internet sales. So I'm not sending the query, I'm bringing tables, data in my Power Pivot model. And of course I have some dimensions, dimension product, I have dimension customer, and I have dimension date. And I will get to sales forecast a little bit later. Now this is basic model. You see these tables are hidden from client tools. So I kind of flattened this snowflake schema to star schema. So how did I do this? Let me go back to data view. So for example, in dimension product I am adding I didn't add, where is this? I thought I had, yes, I added, sorry. I added a subcategory and category, not all products are current, let's find some current products. So I added them with DAX expression, getting them from related tables, and since this is the only thing I need from the tables, I could hide complete tables from client tools. Now for dimension customer, I added again cities, states, country, postal code from related dimension geography. So I could also hide dimension geography. But that's not end. Let me go back to diagram view. I have another related table, countries, population. So I really try to combine everything. So where does this table come from? This table is actually this is from Wikipedia. So I imported this with Power Query. So this is countries by population from Wikipedia. And by the way, here I already corrected the value from Belarus. So this is for Belarus, there is an error in Wikipedia. Let me show you. He's been to the morning presentation, so he already knows. So you see, for Belarus, we have a string that cannot be converted to number because it's space. This is imported from Wikipedia. Anyway, so what I got here is this table of countries by population, and this time I simply added it to data model and then created a join in Power Pivot. So I created a join between geography and countries by population. So then I could add country population to dim customer. And I could hide this table. And again, this is left for a little bit later. So now, once you have this model, then it's very easy to create very nice Power View reports. So this is an example of Power View reports that uses geographical data. I don't need this anymore. So it uses geographical data, country, okay, and then it uses vertical multiplies calendar year. So vertical multiplies, this is Trellis chart built in the tool. So you just select appropriate multiplies, vertical or horizontal, and I got different report for 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008. Now, what else? I'm showing the size of these bubbles. I'm using sum of sales amount, and the color, I'm using the color of the product. Let me go back to Power Pivot model. Where is it? Nowhere? Let me go back to Power Pivot model. Okay. So, basically, what I have here in dim product, right? What I have here is, where is color? Color. Yeah, color. This is color. Of course, there are some products that are not marketed anymore. So this is color of the product. Okay. Also, worth mentioning, let me also show you dimension customer. Worth mentioning, this part of data preparation, probably then explained everything here, but to mention, so what we have here is country, and you can define data category. So I informed, this is metadata in Power Pivot, which can be used by Power View. So I informed Power Pivot that this column represents country, and this column represents city, right? And this is, somewhere here is, no, it's not in advanced, it's here. This table is marked as data table, so this is how we know that we also have time. So we have both time and geography. But please let me go back to the report. Now, you know, simple means not many options. So I cannot play a lot. There are not many things I can do with this Power View report. I go here, can some things, but not really a lot of things. I can change the chart type, maybe enlarge some font and so on, but really not many things. Everything is predefined, which might be somehow funny. So I intentionally added color of the product, color of the bike. So apparently, you see changes in behavior. In 2005 and 2006, bikes of different color were more popular than in 2007 and 2008. So the most popular bikes were in the color which is marked with yellow. So let's see which color is marked with yellow.
Nice.
Nice. This is the limitation. And I cannot change it. And red means blue and blue means black. So this apparently, and violet is yellow. So in 2008 and 2009, yellow and black bikes were more popular, while in 2005 and 2006, red were more popular. Yes, this is the, okay, if you don't play with colors, I intentionally went to this direction, but not having all possibilities means simpler development, but also limited development. Anyway, I have another Power View report which I will show later. So let's go to Power Map. So this is another add-in for Excel, and this time this is add-in that is only partially supported in 2013. So, the Microsoft policy is cloud first. They say not cloud only, but some things are already cloud only. And Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View are fully supported in both on-prem and cloud versions. Power Map is only preview for Excel 2013. So it means simply it is 120 days preview. So it will stop working after 120 days and you have to reinstall it. And it works again. Okay? And since it's preview, if you have a problems, it's not really supported. And now you will see at one slide there are already some features that are in 365 version which are not available in 2013. With Power Map, you can finally have everything like geographical data shown on three-dimensional maps with time-lapse animations. So it supports geographical and temporal data. Unfortunately, it doesn't support other kinds of data, so you cannot generate general graph. Right? Comparing to Power View, it's very focused tool. So Power View is very simple to use, still has much broader appliance than Power Map. So personally, I would expect that at some point Power Map would simply become a part of Power View, hopefully. But I don't know in which direction is Microsoft heading. Because this is marketing and sales enforcing, so now everything is pushing towards cloud. So probably they want to have still two products. However, for me, it looks like natural place to put Power Map in Power View. Just one more kind of reports. Okay. So we have three-dimensional maps, and this is default presentation. You can change manually to two-dimensional maps, and you can use Bing Maps only. So again, we are limited to online mode. Time-lapse animations fully supported out of the box. And what about data source? Data source is similar to Power View, limited to internal, even more limited, so it's either Power Pivot model or spreadsheet data. And export is again extremely limited. You can create MP4 videos, or this is from official documentation, you can export screenshots. I mean, come on, print screen. Fine. Very important that this is supported. This is actually supported. Okay, you have a button for screenshot, but you can also use some Snagit or whatever tool. So you have basically support for exporting screenshot in any application in the world. So not something to break with. Okay. Trellis charts are not supported. So you can have only one big globe and play with it. It is simple to use, again, like Power View, suitable for end users. But there is only Excel version, there is no SharePoint version, and as I said, also very, very limited data, even more limited than Power View. This is only from Excel, Power Pivot model from Excel or from Excel spreadsheet. Power View can also connect to analysis services, tabular or multidimensional.
Just when you saying the maps have to come from Bing, if your particular sort of outline of whatever geographical area isn't available, then you just can't do it.
This is one of the most important advantages, new thing that is now available in 365, custom maps.
Oh, right, okay.
Custom maps are not in this preview for 2013. They have arrived like a couple of weeks ago in upgrade for Office 365. Okay. Microsoft promised that this will be cloud first, not cloud only, but we'll see. So I think they have a problem with keeping this promise.
Yes.
They are pushing cloud. Now a little bit of Power Map terminology. So you are creating a tour. Tour is report with time-lapse animation. You can have multiple tours in a workbook, and if you don't have time-lapse animation, this is static tour with showing one point in time. And you create one MP4 video from one tour. Each tour has one or more scenes. So multiple scenes can play sequentially. So you have in one tour one scene that shows maybe, let's say, sum of sales amount, and another scene that shows, I don't know, customer satisfaction. And each scene can also include multiple layers of data, similarly to reporting services report. So, for example, besides analytical data, you can show some data about geographic locations you are showing. Now, what's new in Office 365? This is new in last 3 weeks, I think. In this version in Excel, you consume all of the data. If you need to filter the data, you have to do it in the data model or in spreadsheet before that. Okay. Now in 365, you can use filters inside Power Map. So you have list for discrete variables, ranges for continuous and advanced, which means you can create a predicate. Okay. So list and range are just shortcuts for specific advanced filters. And you have specify filter for each layer separately. And you have custom maps. So these are important things in Office 365. Will they come to regular Office? Actually, I didn't check the Office 2016 preview yet. But those people who checked it said that it's amazing BI support. So maybe they have kept the promise. They say that BI support in this preview is really amazing. So, just to remember, we are using Power Pivot. So we are using Power Pivot, and this is the most important source of data for Power View and Power Map. Of course, Power Pivot model can be upgraded to Analysis Services Tabular. You get partitions, you get security there, and there is, let's say, in between is Power Pivot for SharePoint. So why is Power Pivot for SharePoint there? You publish model to the SharePoint, and then you get possibility to create reports directly on SharePoint. So you use Power View directly on SharePoint. You don't need to download data locally because you have analysis services there maintaining your data. Still, you see, security is limited. This is still Power Pivot. So compared to Analysis Services Tabular, you cannot play with row level security. You can protect only the full model with SharePoint security. So you can only define who can use this model, but not go on detailed level. And of course, this is also your possibility to get data sources from anywhere. So even Power Pivot directly supports import from many different data sources, right? Or of course you can use Power Query. This way, with the complete this Power BI suite, you really get open suite, also open for different data sources. So you can overcome these problems of having single data source with Power Map and Power View. Optimizing the data model, just to quickly repeat what Dan mentioned. So you should define geographic data, definitely, and optimization for Power View and Power Map is the same because we use geographic and temporal data. And for time-lapse animation, you have to have a column of the data type, and of course you can enrich model with Power Query. Now, matching geographic data to locations, if you have let's say geospatial data, spatial data type, then you have longitude, latitude, there is no ambiguity. This is a single point somewhere in the map, that's it. However, if you deal with these names, country, state, city, then you can have a lot of ambiguity. You know that besides Paris in France, there are 49 more cities with name Paris in United States. Just in United States, they have 49 more. Right? So if you just have city name and this is Paris, there is a huge ambiguity. And Power Map simply doesn't show then this data on maps. So let's say you have 10 data points and on a map only 3 are shown. Apparently there is ambiguity with others. And when you define this geographic data, you will see the Power Map also informs you that the percentage of the names that could be uniquely resolved without ambiguity. So then you know why some points are missing. So the more columns you have, the less ambiguity. So if you have country, state, city, right? But still there is not enough, at least postal code, then you have unique names. Even in one state you can have cities with the same name.
Is that a sort of limitation of Bing? Because it's Bing that's sort of putting these things on the map, as it were?
No, this is just a logical limitation because we don't uniquely identify cities.
Yeah, but the engine, for whatever information you give, it's actually the Bing engine that's placing it on the map.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it can't. I mean, this is logical limitation. You cannot write an engine that would know which Paris you had in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, which Paris.
Crystal
You said,
ball.
I want Paris. Yeah, of course, I wanted this one. How can you be so stupid,
Yeah.
big? So, if you have at least zip code, postal code, then probably you are on the safe side. Unless, I don't know, I realized not so long ago, Hungary didn't use postal codes. So it's still.
Most of Ireland doesn't.
Most of Ireland doesn't even in
Dublin they do.
Yeah, but in villages they also don't use addresses because
No.
all of the mail is delivered to the local pub.
Yes.
So this is very good habit, you know. So everybody has to come at least once per day to the pub just to check, you know. The last mail I got 10 years ago, but still you have to go and check every day, you know. That's nice, nice way. And of course, with Power Query, you can go even further and add data from all kind of sources to your Power Pivot model. And we have a nice user interface, plus we have complete Power Query formula language, so you can even get custom sources that are not supported out of the box. Now, how can we visualize this data when we got it in Power Map? So we summarize, aggregate them. So we have just basic aggregate functions, and there is not much else here. So if you would need some kind of, I don't know, different function, like we want also to show standard deviation, you should aggregate data in advance and then show this as points, right? And then use no aggregation or min or max, whatever you wish, or average even, you know, something. If you have a single value, also some could be fine, right? You can also add categorizations. So basically, if you have just aggregation, you can show either this on countries colors or on bubbles, right? But if you have, or even on bars, but if you have also categories, you can show stacked bars, stacked columns, or clustered columns. And if you have categorizations and use bubble map, then you can use different colors for the circles for different categories. You can also use heat map, color-coded circles, and more intense color means higher value. Of course, region, this is probably the most popular thing to color specific region with specific categories. Now, on the top of showing geographic data, you can add time-lapse animation. So you need date field, and then you define what is the interval you are showing, what is the minimum granularity of time points. It can be none means no animation, day, month, quarter of year, or year. This is supported for the moment. If you need an hour, you can pretend that it's a day, right? And how do you show this data? This depends, you must know your data. So do you want to accumulate data over time? So maybe you have sales and you want to accumulate sales over time. So bars grow over time. Or you show instant value, or you can even show average of previous values, and current value, of course. So you smooth these instant values. So it depends what kind of data you are showing. What else? You can add legends to indicate colors and scale. Text boxes just for some captions, additional comments, annotations. And charts. Okay, this is extremely simple chart. It's actually just a table that shows top 100 values. So this is really not supported all kind of charting. This is just called embellishment. So let me show you, before that, let me show you how it works in Power Map. Also, how do you deploy? Okay, you can share Excel workbook and you can capture screen, right? And you can export as a video. Also, documentation says you can add a soundtrack. This is audio file which must be of the same length, and that's it. And then you just combine it in one file. So Power Map doesn't have any kind of specific tool that would enable you to produce this. So you should use Camtasia or so. There's enough other tools, so you can add this soundtrack with another tool. Okay. In Power Map, you can just say, add this soundtrack to this animation, and they must be exactly of the same length in time, in seconds. Otherwise, it will not work. But of course, it works if you use any kind of producing tool. Then you can import audio file and produce as you wish. So let's go here and let me go to this empty sheet and let's see if this will work. So first, when you install Power Map, right, you have to enable it. This is a COM add-in, so it must be enabled. Power Map must be enabled. So Power Pivot, for example, is already there, so you just enable it. Power Map first has to be, and Power Query first have to be downloaded, installed, and then you can enable them. Once you enable them, you get them in Insert menu. So Power View and Power Map appear in the Insert menu. So here you can launch Power Map. And here you can create a new tour or show an existing tour. So I will just go to this existing tour and explain it. So this is an existing tour created on my Power Pivot model. So I have different layers here. Come on, no. This is it's clear that it's a preview. So I already have a problems. It already doesn't respond anymore. So let me go here and end task. And you know what will happen now? Now Office is smart and said, I know what made me end task, so I will disable. Let's see. I bet it's disabled. I bet it's disabled. Or maybe it was too fast even for Office to... it's not disabled, so it was too fast for Office to realize that Power Map produced the crash. So let's go back to insert and launch Power Map. And hopefully this time there will be more luck. So let's open this one. So far so good. Yeah, it seems like a little bit more responsive than previous time. There is one pattern I noticed. If I open Power Pivot window, then usually Power Map doesn't work anymore. Something for Microsoft to improve. Okay. Also messages to improve. Did you notice help improving SQL Server 2012? There is no 2012 version on this machine. It's only 2014. So they need to upgrade messages besides that. Okay, now let's see. So you see I have this tour, Internet Sales Analysis, which has a single scene. So I have single scene, sales over months, right? And this scene has multiple layers. So I have sales by category and country population. Now let me first go to this one, which is simple. So country population, this is the column that is used, and this doesn't change over time. I don't have data over time. Remember, this is from Power Query, so I could use either instant value, or in this case I used average. Okay, average, and I'm not using any categorization, and mapping is done by country, and country names are unique, so it's not a problem. So mapping is 100% here, not a problem. So this is, and you see these are these map types. So this is region. So darker color means more population. You can see immediately Canada has less population than United States. So this is the legend. So here you can see layers. Here you edit specific layer, and here are settings. Settings for layer and for the complete scene. So scene duration, 30 seconds, transition duration, 2 seconds, and different transition effects, and time-defined start date, end date. So layer options, here is where you define color scale, opacity, and color. So you see color is based on country, population, okay, some or whatever, because I have only one piece of data, it doesn't matter. So this layer was pretty simple. Now let's go to the other layer. This edit button is just to edit the name, nothing else. This is where you edit the name. So let's go to sales by category. So what I'm using here is date, and this is used for time. And then I'm categorizing this data, and I selected clustered column visualization. And I have map by state province. So I'm going to state province level, and please note that this is 98% accuracy, right? These are locations that were not completely sure whether they are correct or not. So country, region, state, province, this is a result. Apparently they have some problems, but this is mapped well. But let's, is this Pas-de-Calais? This is probably wrong. This is probably wrong. Maybe there are cities, Ohio, whatever. Definitely there is a city, New York. And apparently there is one problem. So this simply means I cannot get 100% accuracy in my graph. I would need something more, some piece of data more. So once I got this, right, I can also change map to flat map, fine, right, or add a two-dimensional chart, right, to sales by category, and finally I can play the tour. So you see I defined on month level, right, so I have only in the beginning only bikes have been sold by AdventureWorks. Color is not changing because it's based on population and it's static. And every 2 seconds I get another month, and now also other categories are presented. Now if I stop this, I can get some details, right? So I can get some details of this data. I can right click and enlarge this and analyze, right? And I can continue. Please note that this is only raising, right? And by the end of July 2008, there is no data anymore. So let me go back to sales by category. And you see, I selected here data accumulates over time. So I want to have sum of sums. So I see overall sales for all of these years in this example. So it's okay, pretty nice. I can create an MP, yeah, not here. No, go away. This is Windows Server 2008 Release 2, but I have the same thing. I have the same thing here, and this is Windows 8.1, so I will be able to create it here. And this one has disabled. How this one knew that there was a problem in server? No, it accidentally. It doesn't know anything about virtual machine. So let's go here. And here I can create, right, MP4 video. Right, let's create it somewhere. Somewhere on some temp folder. And it's creating the video. Okay, we can continue with presentation and leave this video to be created in background. Now, it was nice, right? And typically presentations stop here. But everybody's talking about predictive analytics, so where are these predictions? This is so funny for me, you know. I don't want to criticize other speakers, but Microsoft speakers especially, they are enforced to talk bullshit, sorry, you know.
They've got stuff to sell.
Yeah. So you know, when they introduce Power Pivot, they say now you don't need data warehouse, and then demo goes to AdventureWorks DW. So why to data warehouse if you don't need a data warehouse? Go to SAP database directly. Oh, this is not simple. Yes, for end users should be simple, right? So you can have, this is predictive analytics. So where are the predictions? I don't see any predictions. So let's add the predictions. So we'll use data mining to add the predictions. And this is the most advanced data analysis technique we got, the most advanced part of business intelligence. So we are using advanced data mining algorithms to discover patterns and rules. And I will use time series algorithm to create forecasts for internet sales and also gross profit. So time series internally has two algorithms, autoregression trees with cross prediction and autoregressive integrated moving averages, ARIMA and ArtXP. And it's very nice that these two algorithms are supported because first one is better for short-term predictions, second one is better for long-term predictions. So you can mix the blend and get the best forecasting for you. So very useful for better planning, budgeting, and to finally get this predictive analytics in Power BI. Now, how do you get there? Now we have a problem. This data mining model is stored in analysis services multidimensional database. And it's not stored in OLAP cubes, it's stored in tables. So analysis services multidimensional database has multiple storages. Cube that is kind of heap, you know, you have cells with addresses, and data mining models which are stored in tables. And these tables have nested tables, so columns that are also tables. Now I have a problem. You see, Power Query has analysis services data source, but doesn't support DMX queries. So it's doable, right? It's doable. Analysis services also can expose itself as a web service. So it's doable. You send XMLA call to analysis services, web services, but you have to expose it. It's not exposed by default, right? And then you can send DMX query and get results in Power Query. It's doable, but it's not supported. So I went to another direction. We have SQL Server data source. So I created a linked server from SQL Server to analysis services and use transact SQL to get predictions inside SQL Server. And then can import this data into Power Pivot, either directly to Power Pivot or through Power Query. So this is the more simple slide, but a lot of code behind. Okay, so this view was created. Let me close this tour. Let me show you the view. The tour. Wow, we have a nice movie. We can add audio, and we'll have great presentations. Well, it's useful, you know, it's a good practice to do this for presentations if, you know, a web connection goes down. This is one of big problems, you know. How many presentations have I seen when they talked about Azure this, Azure that, and demos didn't work because connection went down? It's very typical problem in these conferences, you know, because of course you have only IT guys. Everybody has at least one, if not two or more devices. Everybody connects at the same time, right? And you shouldn't say don't tweet, because everybody will start tweeting immediately that you said don't tweet. So let me go here, and or not, even one step earlier. So let me go to analysis services. So first I created a view in the AdventureWorks DW database. So this is the source for time series to learn. So what I have time key, which is month, and I have country, and I have sales amount and gross profit. And this column will be used later for categorization. So this is actual data only. So this is now constant actual. Okay. So on the top of this, I created a mining model. So this is my mining model. So I'm using gross profit and sales amount as input and predictable, both. So I will predict based on previous values, and country and time key is the key. So I'm doing this on country month level. So let me show you the mining model. It's just a couple of days in between, but it's all right. So let me show you maybe just sales amounts, which are more comparable. So this is the actual data, and these are forecasts. And here I can add, for example, another step, so I have 6 forecasts. I can also show deviations to get the quality of the forecasts, but I can also show historic predictions, so I can pretend that this is current time point, this is current time point, so here, and that these are forecasts. So this way I can get a measure for quality of forecasts. So if these lines are very close to the actual lines, it means that forecasts for the past are very good, so I can trust them in the future as well. And maybe you see that this one, Canada sales amount, forecasts from the past are not really well following the line, so you can trust them less maybe than forecast for Australia and France. Okay, and of course you can also check gross profit and forecast for gross profit and historical and future forecasts. Now this is very nice, but I need to get this in my Power Pivot model. So first I need to create DMX queries in analysis services. So this is a DMX query. So I will prediction join a specific DMX join, and I'm forecasting 6 next periods. What does it mean, replace model cases? This is very typical when you do forecast for the future, not for history. It means, well, first give me the first time point in the future, then use this for the next forecast, then use these two for the next. Otherwise, I'm using only past data. So it means this forecast, this query will be a little bit slower because first it has to go step by step, but forecasts will be slightly better than if you use only past data. So let me execute this. And what you can see is this nested tables. So nested tables for gross profit for next 6 months and nested tables for sales amount. So what I need to get is flattened queries. So I have specific flatten keyword, but it can flatten only one table. So I have actually 2 queries, one for sales amount and one for gross profit. What? This is from R. I pressed Ctrl and Enter instead of F5. F5. This is from R Studio. Too many tools, too many different talks. So this is forecast for sales amount for 6 months in the future. In the future, of course, from the last time point. And similarly, I can get this gross profit forecasts. Now I need to get this in SQL Server. So let's go to AdventureWorks 2012. So these are all queries used for reporting services, and I already created linked server to my analysis services local, right? And to this analysis services database, set some options how for the behavior and security, and I'm impersonating myself when I go to analysis services. So I created first, this is view we already used for training the time series model, and these are the views for the forecast. So how does this view look like? Now please note, this is a little bit twisted. So this is prediction join. I'm joining mining model to new data. Mining model is in analysis services, so I'm joining this back to SQL Server data. So DMX open query is very similar to transact SQL open query. Just what we call in SQL Server first parameter is linked server, which is actually stored connection string. In analysis services terminology, this is data source. Remember, data source from the product, which is stored connection string. And this is transact SQL query used with prediction join. Now when I go to SQL Server, I have transact SQL query with transact SQL open query. So this is linked server. And then the second parameter is DMX query, which uses DMX open query to go back to SQL Server. At some point I was afraid that it would go to endless loop, you know. So I'm going from SQL Server to analysis, and then from analysis back to the same database in SQL Server. A little bit twisted, but it works.
You could drink a lot of coffee trying to work this out.
Yes, yes. If there is a bug, yes, definitely. So I'm adding 2 queries for gross profit and sales amount. Didn't I drop it? Probably I didn't execute drop statement. I just have shown it. Okay, let's just to be on the safe side recreate it. And these are next 6 months. Control Enter again. These are next 6 months after the end of the data. Fine. But I also want to get historical predictions. Well, I have to create another view with 2 queries, right? And this time I'm adding forecasts from time points current -5. So 6 in the history. So this was the second dotted line in the graph. So I'm adding these historical predictions with a query. And please note that I don't use this keyword replace model cases. I have the data, so prediction forecast will be better, historical forecast, if I use on actual data. Future will be better if I use forecasts on forecasts. Okay, so I'm adding historical predictions. And for remember, actual data was actual data source category. Now I have constant forecast as category. In both cases for current and historical predictions. So this is for the last 6 months where I still have the data. So I will have first 1 year of data, only actual data, then 6 months of both actual and forecast, and 6 months only forecast. So I join union all of these views, all of 4 views, to a single one where I get current, future and historical forecasts for sales amount and gross profit. 6 historical months, 6 future months. Okay? So I get all of this, and now this view was actually brought into my Power Pivot model. So this is now the table sales forecast, the one that I said I will show later. So now I have both actual and somewhere there forecasted values. Will you see forecast and actual? So what now? Well, now I can use this in different reports. So let me show you a reporting services solution. So I have the release chart over time, actual and forecasted values, month, country. So very condensed. And from some point, 2008, you see 2007 I had only actual values. 2008 I have both actual and forecasted values, and these are historical forecasts, so I can see how good they were because I have actual there. And then after July I have only forecasted values till the end of year 2008. So very condensed report, but has everything there. And of course this table can be used also now in Power View. And this is, I used this scatter plot. I started with scatter plot. So I'm comparing sales amount with gross profit. So you would expect bigger sales amount, bigger profit. If you compare them, and let's say you have very low profit for high sales amount, you know that you have to do something there. And color is based on country, and play axis is date. And details tell me about data source, so it means either it's actual or forecasted value. So you see, first I got only actual values, then forecasts appear as well, so the bubbles double, and then it stops. So you see, maybe you noticed there was a problem with this one, which is the United States. Sales went up, but gross profit went down by the end of 2008. So I used Power View. I didn't use map, but I used time animation. So, last thing, insert, map, cells with forecasts. Okay, in a second, in a second, in a second, let me reopen it. And let's check quickly if it was disabled. No, apparently it was not disabled. Maybe it's now disabled on the host machine again. I don't know. Maybe it switched hot water in toilets or something. I don't know how this works. Why it was on host machine. So what I've got here, I have a layer of gross profit percentage, right? And I'm using date, and I'm using stays until it's replaced. So I have gross profit that is also dynamic. No, 2012 I still don't have. And I have a layer, sales amount, where I also use clustered columns, sum, and also categorize it. This time I'm not using product categories, but whether this is actual or forecast data. And animate it over months. So let's play this tour. So remember, initially I have only actual data. And you see now the color also changes. It means now gross profit is also bigger in United States. And these are historical forecasts together with the actual data. And now I don't have actual data anymore. And remember that by the end of the timeline, gross profit in United States went down substantially. So I can also notice this in this report. So that was my problem. And we are coming to the end of the conference. Any questions left?
I was going to say with you, when you started using the link server and bringing the DMX data, it's the same old thing where if you have some really complicated stuff to do, you want to get it done before you start loading it into either a cube or into part of it. That lesson is still true.
Definitely,
yeah.
Definitely. I mean, you should use the right tool. And by the way, linked servers are not really a good practice. Security, many times people, not by themselves, but many times people forget about them.
I mean, you could do that in a sys package and sort of mess it up
Yeah,
there if you
yeah.
build it as proper ETL, then that's probably what you do it.
Or maybe, let's say in the future, Power Query will support also DMX queries and so on. So probably the best thing would be to use Power Query.
If they put Power Query into sys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It's interesting. If you use Tableau at all,
Yeah.
it's interesting. We use Tableau quite a lot, so I've seen the geographical displays and how they build the models up and how they build the models up there. They're obviously trying to catch up, I think, but it's clearly a lot more complicated setup than it is in Tableau.
Yeah, but Tableau is so specialized only for one thing. And if you think of all of the BI suite, it's really impressive. And this is the actual value. Every single thing you can find a better product. Like if you start with database engine for data warehousing, Oracle has much more support for statistical functions, reports directly from data warehouse. Fine, yes, but you have full 2 versions of analysis services on the top of it. And of course you got Crystal Report, but you have reporting services for free. And you got and you got Excel, and you got all of this, and you got integration services. And yes, there are again tools that are better than integration services, but very costly. Now, if you take everything into account, it's really, really impressive what you get.
You need to be in a very large company to spend money on Oracle and Tableau and
Yes.
whatever, it's
Yes.
very hard to get the check.
Yes.
And here is everything out of the box. You need SQL Server and Office. Okay, and maybe if you also wish SharePoint Enterprise. But please take care, it's not that bad. You need enterprise licenses only for development, not for end users.
Right, okay.
End users, they use thin client, so they don't care.
Right, okay. But yeah, but actually deploying your whole production setup, you would need to have enterprise SharePoint,
Yes.
enterprise analysis services
Yes.
in there. Yes, so yeah,
Yes.
it's expensive.
Yes.
Especially if you have a large farm. Try to think what sort of licensing you spend.
But okay, you don't even need SharePoint. I mean, if you have Office and SQL Server, you have really huge amount of tools out of the box. So just need to use them. And I would really, if I was Microsoft, I would really push this, push this awareness.
Mm.
This is the advantage.
There's enough Microsoft people here.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is really the advantage. If you look at any specific tool, you will find something better at competitors. Like data mining. IBM has purchased SPSS, state-of-the-art data mining and statistics. This data mining, even with Azure ML, cannot compare to SPSS. But okay.
You need to be doing some really serious analytics
Yeah.
if you're needing everything in SPSS.
Yeah, yeah. But it's here, it's for free and so on, so gives good results. So
I quite like working with the BI stack anyway. It's, sort of feels familiar. Right, thank you.
okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much.